Go. Anyway, you
Can't
can't do
tell
that
you.
because it is Friday afternoon. It is a beautiful Friday afternoon in the A. And well, let's get this out of the way.
Yes. The
Who are
bold
you?
one, the cold one, John Colder Ice Lawson. What's up, guys?
Oh, that was nice. I like that one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Almost as good as that.
Whatever.
I'm Brent Leary.
Yeah. Oh, that was nice. I like that.
Oh,
No.
it's good.
Nope. I'm lying.
What do you mean you're lying?
I didn't
I'm
care
used to
for
that. I mean, what's the distinction? You're
that.
lying.
I didn't care for that.
And in other news, all right,
Whatever.
folks, it's Friday afternoon, and it's a special Friday. Uh, Literally 7 years ago to the day, April 21st. It was a Thursday morning. I
Mm.
remember. I remember it distinctly. I was in Vegas, and I got woken up to text messages and phone calls because it was still early out there. All these people asking me, "Is it true? Have you heard? Are you okay?" The news that Prince died. I'm sure you remember it. I bet you remember every aspect of that day.
Yep. Well, I remember I turned on the television, saw what I saw, and got off the internet. That's probably the only day I can remember just completely cutting the internet off.
Oh, I was gone for about a month.
Yeah.
I remember that because I first of all, it was the end of this conference I was at, and from the moment I heard that morning, I was no good. I didn't want to talk to
Yeah.
nobody. I didn't want to see nobody. I
Nah.
was like, look, y'all, have,
Bad day.
have a great rest of the conference.
And
I'm
it's
out.
kind of weird. It's kind of weird. But, I mean, up until that point, I would see other people, you know, uh, Michael, Whitney, uh, those are two that I can remember. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there were others that were in there, and I would see their fans, and they would just be, I would be like, wow, y'all was really, you know, and I
Well,
didn't understand until that day.
well, I remember Michael Jackson because that was like June
Oh, absolutely.
2009. It was, and was it another like a Thursday afternoon for that? It
I
was
think
something
so.
like that, and like people lost their damn minds. I mean, it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I
I
was like,
mean,
oh, I thought it almost felt like it was the end of the world or something.
Google had to double check because they thought that their servers were wrong. They were like, somebody has put a false rumor out there. So, but
No,
I guess not.
about Michael Jordan Jackson.
Yeah, so many people had uh, uh, hit the Google servers. You know, is Michael Jackson dead? That they thought that there was a hoax.
Yeah, I mean, because his
It
came
was,
out of nowhere. See, he was before Whitney,
yeah.
and it was like he was just what 50 or something like that. I mean, he was
I think it's 55.
nah. It was 2009. He was 50, turning 51, something like that.
Really?
Because
Oh,
they're all
maybe
remember
Prince was 55.
they
Okay.
were the Prince was 57, going
All
on
right.
58, something like
Something. All
yeah.
right.
Because they were both born 1958. You know that year is really something because they were born that year. I think Madonna was born 1958. It seems like somebody else was born 1958. I know
Weren't
Sade,
you born in 50? No.
you would be there to know. So,
No.
I think Sade was 1959, but I think those the big three of the 80s, if you kind of look at it like that, I don't, but a lot of people do. They were all born in 1958. Prince,
Oh,
Jackson, Madonna.
you don't think those were the big three of the 80s? Who was your big three of the 80s?
Well, see, I don't put him in a class of it with anybody, so I don't do that. But I know a lot of people look, when they look back at the 80s, they're like, Janet Jackson got some play, of course. Uh, who else? Not to a lesser extent,
George Michael.
Michael. Yeah, a lot of people Although he was never on that level. I'm sorry. I mean, he was talent-wise, he was great. He was never at that level.
You're completely
He was at the level of Prince and Michael Jackson. No, he
absolutely,
wasn't. Come on.
absolutely,
Look, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he was nowhere near that level. He was.
freaking
There are layers. There are layers and levels to this.
George Michael wrote and played all the music on his album, so I don't know what are these layers.
That's nice, but that's still that doesn't mean he's on the same level as Prince.
Well, what levels do you spoke? I mean, here's the thing. One of the things.
I don't even know.
I'm not talking about Prince. Anyway, let's just get on. Let's just get on with it.
I'm not even willing to
this
argue.
is all about Prince today.
Yes,
but yeah, absolutely. For me, George Michael's on that level.
Oh well, that's okay. Ooh, you are always a surprise in a bad way.
That's because I actually listen to music.
Not
aficionado. I'm not a hater.
We're gonna go to Prince.
I'm not a hater.
The only people you can compare Prince to is like Miles Davis.
I'm not comparing. I'm just saying on the level of talent.
Well, no, Michael, what's
pretty talented.
Look, George Michael is very talented. Don't get me wrong.
And Michael Jackson never played an instrument.
But either of those two, I'm telling you straight up, Prince should not be compared to any of those folks.
No, I wouldn't compare him to any of those folks. I'm just saying he was an 80s icon.
Miles Davis kind of Louis
in terms of an 80s icon. That's all I'm talking about. And I don't know how Miles Davis always pops up in these things.
Because he's the most comparable thing to Prince there is.
Well, I wouldn't know because I don't listen to Miles Davis.
And that surely shows through. You would know.
Well, that's why you feel the same way about George.
George Michael. Look, I know about George Michael. He's very talented. He can sing. Look, John. What's his name? John Lennon and Paul McCartney. They're closer to Prince than George Michael. Especially, yeah.
All right. Anyway, you know what? Let's get into Prince. I'm serious because there's a couple of things I want to talk about.
Well, go ahead.
Well, the first thing was I was going back and doing some listening, and I was listening to Anti-Christian Antichrist, right? Controversy album. And one line actually just really stood out to me in that. You killed John Lennon, shot him down cold. Everybody say what?
Yeah, what was that word they yelled? Gun control. Gun control.
Exactly.
I mean, look.
Is that crazy? I mean, it's like one person got killed by a gun and a crazy person way back in the 80s.
Well, if you remember, Ronald Reagan also got shot in that same time period.
In that same time frame, but he hadn't been shot yet.
I'm not sure.
Because why would he say about John Lennon if
because John Lennon is music? I mean,
yeah, I get it, but I'm saying if Reagan had been shot, I don't think Reagan had been shot.
I don't know. See, it happened around that same time period. Well, I think John Lennon was 1980, right?
Yeah, I know he was first. I know
Reagan
he was
81 because he was already the president.
Yeah,
he didn't become president until 81. So, but still, I mean, Prince was already way ahead of his game.
But I'm just saying, it's like here we are today.
We're still talking about
this. But I mean, now it's gone to the point where we're shooting up grocery stores, elementary schools. You know what I'm saying? And it's just insane that we still can't get any sort of control. It's just insane. Anyway, I just thought that was like an amazing line in comparison to 2023.
Well, geez. I mean, if you look at the whole 1999 album, and the song, of course, that was way 1999. I mean, he's thinking about the end of the world, in 1982 because of what he perceives is going to happen in 1999.
Well, actually, I mean, you know the story of how this song is written.
Yeah.
So I mean, he happened to be watching HBO one night, and I can't remember what the actual movie was, but it was like War of the Worlds kind of type movie. It must have been 1984 or something. What's that stupid movie?
Nah, because that was out
Yeah, that was out. But anyway, he's watching some movie on HBO. It was an end of the world type movie, and he literally wrote that song in that hotel room that night, real quick, and it became an anthem.
Well, how many anthems does he have?
He's got several.
Because 19, I mean, of course, Purple Rain is the one everybody knows, and
I think that's his. I would say that's his first anthem.
No, not his first.
What would you say was his first anthem?
Well, anthem. I mean, what when we say anthem, what are we talking about? Songs that everybody knows and loves and sings?
How about this? It's a song that if he doesn't sing in the show, you're like, why didn't he sing that?
Oh my God, he could have a show full of those kind of songs. Though.
But I mean, come on. There's a certain few. Like if he doesn't sing Purple Rain, if he didn't sing 1999,
Let's Go Crazy, you could throw that in there.
Yeah, Let's Go Crazy.
I would throw Raspberry Beret in there for that.
Yeah, you'd have to sing that.
Adore people.
You have to sing Adore. I've never seen him not sing Adore. He sang that. I've seen him not sing other songs. I've never seen him not sing Adore and Purple Rain.
Yeah,
those two he had to sing.
I mean, some people would, the "Do Me Baby." People love that song.
Well, he would usually do a little piece of that along with Adore. Yeah. So
now, me, I consider it an anthem of sorts. Is off of I think it was off of Sign of the Times. There comes a time in every man's life when he gets tired of fooling around. What's the name of that song? Oh, Forever in My Life.
Forever in My Life.
That's to me, that's like the male song towards women.
I think I only seen him perform that once. I think that hit the playlist once live.
Okay, that because Sign of the Times to me there are so many anthems on that because The Cross. Oh my God, I love The Cross and he's
never done that live.
He's only done it in that Sign of the Times
movie
yeah. Thing.
I don't think he's ever done that live.
But it's so great. To me, that's an anthem. I would say there's probably, if you think about it, I mean, come on, we're talking about a dude that has 39 studio albums, and then of course all the live stuff that got recorded. I mean, there's just so many things to choose from or to pull from. You look at Emancipation, or you look at The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. I mean, that song was kind of an anthem of his because that was considered a comeback song. Remember that was the song that he was after Come, and that album did really bad, and people were like, "Has he still got it?" And he was fighting with Warner Brothers, and remember he put that out on some weird independent label.
Well, the story behind that is that Warner's didn't want to give him another album, and he was like being pissy, and he's like, "Well, I'll just release something on my own." They were like, "Well, you try," and he did, and it worked.
Yeah, and it worked big time.
But it didn't do great for the album.
Well, no, because it came out. It was a one-off.
Right, and then they put it on the album.
The gold album in '95. That came out in like '94.
Yeah.
And remember, that was the year that Come came out, which was a terrible. There's some good songs on it, but
I'm about to say, bro, I was just listening to the album. I love the album.
I like the title song is a killer song.
Man, Dark is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Well, I like Let It Go. I like Pheromone. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot. It was an album that was out of its time.
Well, but he didn't promote it. You remember how the album was called Prince is Dead? I mean, that was kind of a weird way to promote.
Well, it was the last. Well, no, there was one extra, two extra albums.
Chaos and Disorder, I think, was the absolute last.
That was the last two. So these are two albums he threw at them to get
and
out of the contract.
Good. They both had some really good stuff on it, but he was so done with Warner Brothers. He was just.
I mean, Chaos and Disorder is just really that.
Look, Dig You Better Dead. That is like the jam, and I like Chaos and Disorder. Dinner with Dolores was all right. It was pretty good to me too. There was a number of good songs, but he was so through. It's reminiscent of Miles Davis. I'm telling you, there's some serious parallels. He wanted to get out of his, I forget what was it, Blue Note, one of those jazz, strictly jazz record labels. He wanted to get out of that so bad and sign with Warner Brothers that he put together like a 3 albums in like 1 month, gave it to him so he could get out of his contract and go to Warner Brothers. And that's when he started doing the collaborations with Gil Evans and Porgy and Bess and Miles Ahead. And anyway, and that's why I always equate what Prince to Miles, because they're much more akin to each other than all the folks came out in the 80s. But anyway, I digress.
Constantly.
That's okay, because and you know who Miles Davis said Prince took after in a number of ways. He said that Prince was like a combination, if I can say it, like Marvin Gaye, Little Richard, Sly Stallone, and I think he threw in Jimi Hendrix, and then he threw in Charlie Chaplin.
Really?
Yeah, and you look at Charlie Chaplin, he owned the world back before the talkies. And people looked at his talent as being otherworldly too. And he could produce the kind of movies he wanted, because he was the first like legitimate movie star of the silent movie era.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles to pick up on that and equate him and Prince, it's not just somebody equating Charlie Chaplin to Prince. It's Miles freaking Davis doing that. And also throwing in Sly Stallone, Little Richard, James Brown. I think those are the ones he threw.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Sly Stallone.
No, not Sly Stallone. Sly.
Oh, Sly. Okay.
Stone.
Okay.
Sly Stone.
Sly Stone.
Yeah, Sly Stone. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, Sly Stone. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. And think about, everybody, I hate that Prince always got labeled pop, because
he didn't always get labeled pop.
Oh, well, most of the people label him as, whenever you hear them say, and I see this a lot on these reaction videos. Oh, he looks just like Michael Jackson. It is so infuriating.
He looks like Michael Jackson. Huh?
And he sounds. No, he doesn't.
Oh, so these are people that were born in the 90s and 2000s.
Well, even people in the 80s that were around were trying to do that nonsense too.
Yeah.
Because of the parallels. They're both black.
Mm.
They're both.
Yeah, that's annoying.
But
annoying.
They really had, other than those obvious things, these two couldn't be more further apart than me and you.
Who, Prince and Michael?
Absolutely, they were nothing.
They were very close. They were close.
They were nowhere near close.
Oh, they were. Yeah, they were.
Not at all.
Okay.
I mean, tell me how they were. Tell me in the ways that they were close.
In terms of, they both got over on videos in MTV.
Okay.
They crossed the color line based on that. They work with some of the greatest people in the industry. They're well respected, highly talented. I mean, what do you mean they're not close? I really don't understand.
I'll tell you right away. When given the opportunity to work with, when Prince was first getting his record contract, we talked about this not too long ago. They were originally trying to pair him up with Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire, because they thought Maurice would be the perfect kind of producer to kick off his career.
Mm-hmm.
Prince didn't want any of that. He didn't want anybody, having any say over what he does. Now you look at Michael. Now this is not the fairest of comparisons, because Michael Jackson, of course, came up with Jackson 5, so he's a little kid, and he, Motown, Berry Gordy, very controlling, and he went from that to breaking out on his own with Quincy, and Quincy was very controlling. So these two massive music figures had a huge say in what kind of music Michael put out. Prince was not having any of that nonsense. It was his way or no way. When you're a 17-year-old kid, who most 17-year-old kids would die.
Okay, that's a place where they differ. I just don't say that's enough to make them.
That's a huge
that's
difference.
Yeah, but me and you are different, but we're
I'm saying
similar.
If you're gonna go there, that's the main. Prince did it.
Okay, that's fine. That doesn't mean that they're not similar.
They're not similar at all, because Prince was more focused on the music, whereas I think. Come on, man. I mean, look, I'm not.
No, I'm just like you're saying. Michael wasn't focused in on his music. What are you? Are you on crack?
How many songs,
Come on, bro?
How many songs of Michael Jackson on those albums did he actually write and produce?
He sang every damn one of them.
I didn't say sang. I said write and produce. And
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know.
But I'm saying. I'm saying yes, that's a differentiator, but that's not to say that they're not. Oh, they're so different because Prince played on. I don't get. Okay, look, bro. I'm not gonna agree with you.
Look at
the facts are the facts.
Yeah, look at the different genres of music they play. Prince was obsessed with music. He was obsessed with putting the right.
Even when you say Charlie Chaplin, I think
that's not Michael Jackson was.
Michael was very obsessed with Charlie Chaplin too. I mean, it's just not. I mean,
maybe watching him.
It's not even. I don't know. You know what? I don't think it's actually. And this is coming from me now as an adult. Okay, as a kid in the 80s, you had to pick. Now I can have both and be happy.
I'm totally agreeing on that, but I am unabashedly, I'm not ashamed to say, there's only, if you had to pick one musical person.
Well, I mean, Prince would win. He's my favorite, yes, but that doesn't mean he's not similar.
No, he's not similar.
There are similarities between the two.
Look at how his music progressed over the years.
Let me tell you one thing.
Not the same.
Let me tell you one thing. Michael Jackson made Prince want to learn how to dance. That's for sure.
No, that's the place where I think you're right. All hands, Michael Jackson. That's where he excelled. That's where he was the best. He was like the modern day Fred Astaire.
Prince could not even dance.
Well, he could dance, but back in the day. Well, look, Michael Jackson had all these people. He grew up amongst the giants. I mean, come on.
Did.
He was in Minneapolis with his dad playing jazz. I mean, totally different.
Yeah, hey, there are. Look, I'm not denying that there are differences, but to say that there are no similarities.
I didn't say there were no similarities. I just said the vast differences should have been the thing people keyed in on, and not the obvious similarities.
Yeah, well, you know what? Okay, I'll give it to you. There are really not that many obvious similarities, other than they both wear makeup, they both have processed hair, and they both are black. Okay, and they play music.
Yes,
so, and it was the 80s.
And it was the 80s.
And they were always like 1 and 2.
See, once again, I hate that, because Madonna was a force to be reckoned with. You got to say that. People like Bruce Springsteen was. Come on, he was as big as anybody for the most part.
Okay,
in the 80s. I know you probably don't like it, but that's the truth. Look, I'm not saying that he was my favorite, but dude was huge in 1984.
He was huge for one album.
Wait, yeah, but it
lasted a long time, but it was one album.
Look, he was already huge from the 70s.
I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. They always make it seem like Bruce Springsteen, but Bruce Springsteen was one album strong. In the 80s.
I mean,
what was the second? What was the follow up?
Well, the most popular, of course, is the "Dancing in the Dark" thing, whatever.
But I'm saying all of that. What was the follow up album to this? I don't
idea, because
exactly. Ain't nobody care about him after that.
No, that's not true. You didn't care about him after that.
I'm saying he had his built in audience, but he was not
and his built-in audience was huge, man. I'm
I'm
telling you.
not saying it wasn't, but he was not like moving
He was as big as George Michael ever was.
Okay, whatever. If you say that, that's fine.
I'm just saying
All right.
that's true.
Okay, well that's fine. If you're giving George Michael that much play, fantastic.
I'm not as huge a fan of either, but they're both
But
big.
let me put it like this.
Yeah.
I don't see Bruce Springsteen on album after the Dancing in the Dark one.
Bruce Springsteen is selling out.
Let me finish my statement. Let me finish my statement. Moving the pop culture needle.
Dude is still commanding 20,000 people arenas right now.
Yeah, so is
George Michael.
Get it.
Unfortunately, by the time he died, he was like,
"Oh, bro, you are extremely wrong. I saw him before he died in the arena.
He was not getting
the best show ever.
That might have been the case, but there weren't 20,000 people.
There was more than 20,000. It was full. I'm serious. It was full. I don't know why but George Michael barely toured. So anytime he toured, the places were packed because they had to clean his ass up to get him to tour.
That's what I'm saying. Springsteen was on a constant loop.
Anyway, like I said, wasn't nobody walking around dressing like Bruce Springsteen after Dancing in the Dark. That's what I'm trying to say. Pop culture did not move because of him after that thing. He did his little one thing. We're glad. I give him his props.
Fan to begin with.
I give him his props, but he was not number 1 and 2.
We Were Born to Run was well ahead of any.
Whatever.
Just because you and I aren't the biggest fans, that dude has a huge fan base.
But after that album, he was nobody.
Are you kidding me? Of course, after that album,
he's still a nobody.
He's still a nobody.
I'm teasing. I'm totally teasing.
Do
not send letters. I give Bruce Spring all props. I'm just saying. He had his moment.
Bruce Springsteen CD, but I
know. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna tell you this. After that, what's his name? What is the boys? Bon Jovi came and took his place in pop culture.
Well, all right, but you too. You got to go. You got you too.
You too, maybe. I mean,
you got the Police. You got U2. So there were a number of 80s.
Just got my tickets.
Yeah, so there were a number of top tier 80s bands and individuals that came out.
None of them released 10 albums in the 80s back to back.
Well, nobody did that. That's what I'm saying. Nobody, and not only that, wrote for other people, put number 1 songs out for number 1 people. I mean, look at 1984-ish, because he had the Times album. He had Sheila E.'s album.
Yeah, I'll go deeper. It would probably be 82.
Well, so 82 was the second Time album, because 81 was the first Time album. So, but he was doing that alongside of doing Controversy in 1999, and all the B-sides that weren't even parts of those albums, and things like Irresistible Bitch was a B-side. Like How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore? Those are B-sides. Then he was, like you said, putting together the Time in those first 2 Time albums. From the album, that was all him.
No, it's actually him, Morris, and sometimes who was on the guitar in that band?
Oh, Jesse Johnson.
He would come in for some of the stuff.
Yeah,
but that first album, it was just him and Morris.
That's what I'm saying. So he was doing that.
That's insane.
On the way of doing Controversy,
and of course, all of the Vanity album was him.
Well, yeah. Well, let's face it. There's only really one good song out of that.
Are you okay? There was only one radio cut, but there was a lot of good songs on that.
They were all right. I mean,
come on, don't hate.
I'm not hating. I'm just being honest. They're all right.
There were some good songs. I mean, they weren't like barn burner, but I'm sorry, man. Vanity, that radio cut is still to this day will shut down a club.
Are you talking about Nasty Girl?
Yes.
Oh yeah, well that was the jam. That's what I'm saying. That one song, and then also songs that Stevie Nicks. Remember "Stand Back"? That was inspired by was that inspired by? I think it was Little Larry Corvette. That was the one that she heard that, and she said she had to pull over on the side of the road because she was inspired with this thing in her head, and she had to write it. And then she got word to Prince to say, "Hey, this song was inspired by you. Would you like to come to the studio to actually hear it?" And he not only did he come into the studio, he like
on it.
Yeah, he added I think he added not guitar. I think he put some keys on it. So this dude was music in a way that nobody else was. And then we can talk about the Madhouse albums. Completely forgotten by most people. But those were some good jazzy, hip kind of songs. And Madhouse number 6 is still my jam. Dun, 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 dun. Boom, boom. I mean, so that's why I don't like the only people that come close in comparison are people like Stevie Wonder, who we talk about in the early 70s. Stevie had that run of fulfilling his first finale, talking book, Inner Vision, Songs of the Key of Life, where he was writing, producing, and playing most of the instruments. That's the only thing that comes close to Prince. Nobody else comes really close. And then there's Miles Davis. So that's why, if you had to ask me if there's anybody remotely close, it would be Stevie Wonder. It wouldn't be anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, he's all I listen to most of the days. So.
But I do give a special shout out because I didn't realize how much Paul McCartney did in terms of playing guitar and playing piano and writing songs. And he wrote a lot of the songs with John Lennon. But he was, my eyes were open when I saw him jamming on the guitar and then jumping to the piano and writing with Lennon. And there were hits. I mean, everybody knows the songs that he put out. But once the Beatles were done, he still had some hits, but they weren't nearly the same as they were before the Beatles were kicking it.
Sort of like Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen was always he was always his own thing, man. Come on. I'm trying to get all the Bruce Springsteen.
I know. They're probably just like
I think we lost everybody else because
that's okay. It doesn't matter. This is Prince's day.
Oh, absolutely.
So I ain't pressed.
We
had to do this. It's been 7 years. That's a mighty long time.
I think the thing that I respect maybe the most about him is his independent streak, is right from the jump. I mean, wanting to always have as much control over what he did and how he did it.
One thing I would like to really highlight is how much he actually did for charities and never put his name on it. I mean, in terms of that man gave a lot of money to a lot of different organizations. He actually built a school, and he's done a lot. And he doesn't get a lot of props because he didn't put his name on it.
Yeah, he didn't want. Actually, I heard he would kind of stipulate nobody can know.
Yeah,
don't want anybody knowing about it.
Yeah, So he and also he was definitely an activist. He was a major activist. He was going to do things his way, and I hate all the hate that we have today going around, especially with a lot of people who want to dress a certain way, but these are the same people that didn't appreciate the way Prince did what he did. He did what he did way before it was even a word for it.
Well, I will say this: I'm the hugest fan of the music, but I was never a fan of the fashion, particularly the ass out jeans. Not a fan of that.
But it doesn't matter. He did it his way. And his music
I'm just
is
saying that
what
never stopped me
we
from
remind. This is
that
what
never
we
stopped.
remember.
Well, I'm just saying that never stopped me from basically idol worship of the guy, of his musical talents. But I was never a fan of the trench coat and the spandex and the leggings and the
Yeah.
ass out jeans. But
But that
that
was
was
him. That was
that was.
him.
But if it
That
got
was him.
but if that got him to create the stuff he created, more power to him. More
No,
more
that's
ass out
not.
jeans.
That's in spite of all the stuff that he created. That was him.
That's what
That's
I'm
the
saying.
thing I'm trying to get through is that, people are people, and he was all about, accept me as I am. And
Well,
that's what we ended up having to do.
and plus he evolved because at the end he wasn't down with any of that stuff. He wasn't.
I never seen Prince without makeup ever.
I'm not talking about the makeup. I'm talking about the risque kind
Well,
of.
I mean, hey, you're freaking 50 years old. Only Madonna still pulls that
Well,
shit.
when in the '90s he
She
went
needs
through
to
his.
chill that shit out too.
Well, like I said, in the '90s he went through his religious transition, and he dropped all that stuff. But luckily that was just another phase he went through, and his music evolved and changed, through that, and got some really great stuff after that. Which that Rainbow Children, people slept on that so hard. That was
Rainbow Children was fun.
Oh man,
but I mean, sometimes he would get a little too preachy.
Well, that's okay. It's all
it's
right.
like, just do a gospel album if you want to do a gospel album.
Well,
Stop throwing it into your pop music.
Well, but that's okay. That's him, man.
It was him. I have to accept him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I accepted the ass out stuff. You had to accept that. Sounds funny saying that, but yeah. But so I also think he was a mentor to so many folks. So many of these musicians looked up to him for a variety of reasons.
Absolutely.
For not only for his extreme. There's nobody more talented than this guy, but there was nobody who worked harder than this guy. And
no, you were not going to overplay Prince.
No,
you're not going to outplay him. Ain't nobody in his band ever outplay him.
Look, at almost any instrument. I mean, you pick an instrument, he could stick with whoever he brought in to play it during a tour because he couldn't do it,
and he was well practiced.
Well, that's the thing. I was watching
well rehearsed
one of these reaction videos, and the guy is like a professional guitar player. He was playing. There's this clip on YouTube of Prince playing "Summertime" on the piano, and he's just flowing. And he's also it's one of those concert practices. So it's not at a real concert. It's like a sound check, and he's just sitting at the piano, just playing this wicked "Summertime," and then directing the band. All right, I'm going to C sharp, and he's just playing casually, and they're playing along with him, and it just looked like it was so second nature. Then he calls somebody over, and while he's playing away, he's talking to the guy, and the dude just stopped. The reaction guy just stopped. He's like, "Look, all right, I had to stop. We're gonna have to talk about this." I knew he was a genius on the guitar, but how could anybody be able to play like that on the piano?
That's his first instrument.
Well, yeah, but the guy said, "I want to. If I had an opportunity to ask him anything, I would want to ask him about how he managed his time because he was an expert in so many different facets of business and creation and music creation. How could one person be able to pull off all of that? He had to be a master of time management. And we all know he didn't sleep a lot, and that was part of the thing. But even people that don't sleep a lot, they don't find it in them to be a master of not just one thing, but multiples of things. And so not only did he have a gift, he had the ability to focus and manage his time in a way that allowed him to produce so much stuff in such a little amount of time. That's a testament to time management and focus, not just being an expert and God-given gifts. He had the God-given gifts, but he also knew how to apply them in a way, in a systemic a managed way that allowed him to work on his own projects, work on other people's projects, not just writing, but directing, putting bands together, practicing, doing the choreography in the videos, doing a movie, doing 3 movies, only one really good movie, but still, we got to factor in the fact that he did Sign of the Times, Parade, Under the Cherry Moon, and the concert album. That was all done in the midst of all the music he was creating too. That's amazing time management. I don't know how. I can't think of anybody else that could have done that or has done that.
I think also it just came to him. I mean, he could not do what he was doing.
Yeah, he was possessed to do all that.
Yeah.
But he was possessed and had the tools and knew how to do all that.
Somewhat.
Well, like I said, the direct,
because like some of them movies weren't that great.
That Under the Cherry Moon, that was a terrible movie.
I tried to watch that again.
That was a bad movie. And also, I forgot about Graffiti Bridge. That was
I can't now that I can't even stomach that movie. It's so corny.
But the soundtrack for Batman, that was good.
Fantastic. So fantastic, in fact, that none of the music off of that soundtrack can be used anywhere else. Did you know that?
Well, that's because remember originally they asked him to do a song or something, and he sent back
he did the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But if you notice, like any of his greatest hits album don't have any of those tracks on it.
Yeah. Yeah. What about Girl 6? Because that's another one. I mean,
I forgot about Girl 6. He did that soundtrack. Although most of that was already done before, right?
There was
new tracks for that?
There was a mix. I mean,
some new tracks.
Well, the title song, Girl 6, but
yeah, I guess so, right?
He Spoke to Me was the jam for me on that one. But think about it, that he did.
Man, you just made me think of Pink Cashmere. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, now that was just on the B-sides thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love that song.
That was a jam. But think about that. So we had Purple Rain, we had Under Cherry Moon. I'll throw in Sign of the Times because it was a movie. It did end up in the movie theater. Graffiti Bridge, Batman, Girl 6. Am I missing anything? He did 6 movie soundtracks.
Yeah, that's it. I think
6.
Let's ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's amazing. Sure. Who else did 6 movie soundtracks in the midst of all the stuff they were already doing? That's insane.
That's interesting.
Insane.
Seems like there's one that he did, but no, maybe not.
No, I think that's pretty much it. But that's a lot. I mean, 6 soundtracks, 6 movie soundtracks, and hand-picked because Tim Burton wanted him for Batman, and of course Spike Lee wanted him for Girl.
Oh wow!
What?
It's just I'm asking him. He did move. I asked it. What other movies did he do songs for?
Oh yeah, he's got other movies that song.
But I forgot about Happy Feet. I can't remember the song, but it was a good song, and I was like, "That's cool. Prince could do that."
He did Good Love. What movie was that in? Because that was in the 1980s.
1980s.
Yeah, that was somewhere. Good Love. Yeah, I love that song, but that was on some movie in the 1980s.
I got one that's 1990 called The Adventure of Ford Fairlane.
That might be it. 1990 might be it.
Then there's one White Man Can't Jump, but that's 92.
No, I don't know what he had on that one.
I don't either. Because ChatGPT will lie in a heartbeat.
I'm looking up Prince Good Love. That was okay. Come on, I want the. Oh, Bright Lights, Big City, 1988.
Light Lights, Big City.
Okay. Bright Lights, Big City. Yeah, that was with I think Michael J. Fox is in that one. That was the jam too. Good Love. Oh man, I love that song. So So he was so, and those are songs that people forget, that don't know. But there was nobody that was even close to being as prolific as him. Nobody even close.
Yeah, not at all.
So that's why I go back. I take a little bit of umbrage with those comparisons, because you can't compare him to anybody. You just can't. Matter of fact, he wrote a song about it. It's called "Nothing Compares to You."
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, I still see similarities between him and Michael.
Look, there's some slight similarities. You could
They almost did a duet together.
Well, we all know why that didn't take place. Cue the Chris Rock movie clip. Nah, and I like to also that you said he helped on his terms, and he was an activist on his terms, and that goes back. You talked about anti-Christian. Ronnie talked to Russia. He signed to the Times. There's a number of songs in kind of that Baltimore song after but he always did it his way, and that included, remember, USA for Africa, when they were basically trying to get him to do be a part of that. And he was like, "Look, that's just not me. I'll be glad to offer you a song up."
And he did do a song on there, didn't he?
That was a great song, For the Tears in Your Eyes. That was me personally. That was way better than We Are the World. That song, that is annoying as hell. I'm sorry. I know it's for a good cause. That song was trash. That's just me. But For a Tear in Your Eye. Oh man, that song is a beautiful song. And I think they only played that video once on MTV.
Oh, they have a video for it.
There was a video. Yeah, it was a big deal when he did the song. They did the big thing about him not being a part of it. And I agree with them. Why? I mean, there were so many big names in that. What's the point of? He was like, "Why do you need me? Look, give me a little studio on the side. I'll give you a song." But it was a power play.
Whatever. It was Michael Jackson's project, and he didn't want to be in it.
Well, it was Quincy and Lionel Richie.
It was Michael Jackson's project, and he didn't want to be.
No, it was more of a Quincy's project.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of where we were with the bad thing. It was Quincy that brought Prince in, but
that's why I love the guy.
Like,
everybody else would have been like, "Okay, I'll just go along with it."
Well, everybody else did.
Yeah, but him. And he got the bad rap for it, but guess what? He didn't care. He kept on doing his thing. That's what
he always does.
That's what I love. He went against Warner Brothers. He wanted to get his rights to his masters. He did things that other people wouldn't do. And now those folks kind of benefit from that, from his line of. Look at Alicia Keys. She always told him about learning how to make sure she had control of her music.
Oh yeah, I mean, everybody has to give him the props because he's the one.
And we,
the catalyst for that.
And think about how the internet was used for musicians. He was at the forefront of that, and most people forget about the MPG Music Club. I know you were. I was an original member. That was
great. That was absolutely. I love that. The music that came with it.
Oh, there was some good music. Crystal Ball. Come on, man. That was where that Crystal Ball CD came from with the fourth CD, The Truth, in there. And remember, people were like, at the time, they were like, "Oh, Prince put out this out CD. It was a total bust." That's because it wasn't distributed the traditional way. And he was like, "I sold 200,000 copies of that, and I'm getting 90% of the proceeds versus, I could sell millions of copies of others." And
I did 10 million on Purple Rain, and I didn't get nowhere near as much.
Yeah. So he was the guy that was at the vanguard of that, and all these subscription things with music. He doesn't get as much credit as he does for a number of things beyond just being a great singer and guitar player, which is what most people tend to focus on with him. He's the ultimate. You cannot look at me for just one thing person. When it
Yeah,
comes
he
to
did so much. And people don't remember. I mean, it's so much.
yeah,
So much.
yeah. So,
You put all that on top of all the live performances.
oh well,
Dude,
come on.
insane.
Nobody even comes close to touching him for a live performance.
Nope.
I mean, let's not even. I mean, if you're
Nope.
talking about dancing, that's give that to Mike. But if you talk about everything all together and individually, when it comes to actual performing and choreography and building a band and leading a band while being the front man for the band, ain't nobody close.
Nobody close. That was your guy, man.
That was it. And
Had to
there'll
give
never
him
be another.
props.
There will never be another like that.
Nah. And I'm
So,
still discovering new music. That's the crazy part.
I know.
That's the
And
crazy part.
I am so looking forward to going to Paisley Park next weekend. Oh, it's going to be great.
Oh, you going next weekend?
I'm going on.
Are they having an event while you're
They
there?
are having something, but I think it's this week because today is what it
Yeah,
is.
I know they're having stuff today.
But we're going on Sunday, April 30th. That's when we get in.
And you got the VIP pass?
You know it.
You got to get the VIP pass.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait to hear. Because we were talking about doing it at some point again. Because when I went 7 years ago.
You went when it first opened? Because I got tickets.
No, it wasn't open. I went when there was still flowers on the fence.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah.
you just went up there.
We just went up there. We just did No, we went to see the Revolution play at First Avenue.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so it was the Revolution and like the original Revolution. So Dez was there.
Oh, Dez and Andre Simone was there?
And Andre was there, So
And,
Andre, huh?
Bobby Z, the drummer?
Bobby was there. Everybody was there. Everybody was there.
Matt Fink was there?
Apollonia came out and threw stuff in the audience. Susan was there. She got on stage and did
Wendy and Lisa?
stuff. Wendy and Lisa were there. Everybody was there.
Nice.
Everybody came out. It was a one. And the thing is, I thought they were going to go on tour. They were supposed to go on tour and all this, but they didn't. And I'm so glad I got to see that one show.
It's probably the best that they didn't go on tour. I think doing one show was good.
And at First Avenue. I mean,
yeah. I don't think
so iconic.
That's a show built for traveling, not without being in there.
They got it started and stopped a couple of times. And I just don't think it's ever going to get out there now.
Nah, it's probably a little too late.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey, I'll tell you one thing. Anytime they play, they're going to sell it out.
Oh, man, that was fun. That was a good hour almost. We're coming up on an hour.
Cool.
That was good stuff. 7 years passed. I think I listened to him more now than I ever did, to be honest.
Oh, totally.
It's amazing to say about somebody who has been going that long and his music has been around for over 45 years at this point.
It doesn't even feel like it, but I guess so.
Well, For You came out in 1978, so we're talking 45 years, and it still seems unbelievable that he crammed so much music in this, what I think is such little amount of time. And like I said, we'll never see anybody like that again. Never.
I mean, literally, I remember he did 2 nights back to back and then did like 3 hours. I had to leave his concert. I had to leave the after party show. All right. We had already seen him, right? Do a whole concert. You go across to the club and he's doing 3 hours on. It's just insane. I had to go home. I'm like, bro, I gotta go. I can't believe I'm leaving a Prince show.
That's why I say he didn't play music. He was music.
He was totally music.
Yeah, there's
totally was music.
He was possessed. and obsessed by music.
Anybody that plays with him will say that.
Yeah.
You know,
Anybody that plays a full concert and then does 3 after shows in multiple locations, there's nothing. There will never. I could safely say there will never be another one like that.
that's
Never,
crazy.
never.
Uh-uh. And he could do as many encores as he wanted, you know, because he always had another hit. That's
Oh,
what he would always say.
we should say,
We're just getting started.
yeah, you know what, we should say this too.
More hits.
The way that he communicated with his fans during his live shows, no one ever has that kind of connection with their fan base. He like integrated them into the show. He always called in, brought them in, made sure they were completely in sync with what he was doing, and they loved it. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever had that kind of relationship during an event like he had with his audience.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one show where the NPG got in early to see the mic check, the sound check. And, you know, we were all sitting down the hallway and I was like, wow, look at all of us that are, you know, NPG club members. Wow, look at all, you know. But we took up the first 2 rows and that's what he allowed, you know. And he definitely was good to his fans.
Yeah,
definitely was good. That's how I knew about the, you know, the after party, because you go into the MPG club, they tell you where it's going to be.
I know he was also rough on his band, you know, members, but he also was very sharing of the spotlight during the events. He would always allow them to come up and get their little, you know, spotlight.
Oh yeah.
Whereas others would be like, no, this is mine, you know. You stay in the background and support me, you know. But he was cool about letting them get up there and get their piece. I mean, particularly, I think in those latter years, the band, like it had John Blackwell and that Renato Ray on the keys, Morris Haynes, Rhonda Smith on the bass. He would give them all a piece at some of those, you know, when he's playing like 16-minute totally different arrangements of songs that everybody knew, and they would all get a chance to shoot. And then remember when he brought in Maceo and Fred, you know, with the horns and integrated not only saxophones in, but he had trombone players up in that piece, man.
Oh, man, and was using them.
Yeah, it was so great, and that's why I said his music always grew and transformed as he got more mature. He was able to draw from other genres and other instruments and integrate them into what he was doing. Because you listen to some of this stuff in the later years, he could have never have played that stuff in the early years. But the evolution and the transformation of what he did all along got him from point A to point B. And it was just, in everything in between was such a cool way to kind of see that transformation happen and see how he was able to grow from, you know, being just a guitar and piano virtuoso to being, you know, really writing complex lyrics and
one of the greatest composers of all time.
He was the American Mozart, if you ask me, Jack. I mean, I ain't even trying to, you know, sugarcoat it.
You know, the ASO did a show and played his music, and I'm mad I didn't get to go to that show because I was out of town. But Questlove actually put together a orchestrated presentation of Prince's music. And it just kind of just showed how rich the music actually was.
Oh, yeah.
To recreate it.
I'm telling you that from Rainbow Children on, it was more complex, more full arrangements, you know, more direction, more collaboration, letting the other folks come in and add. He grew all the time. He was always searching.
He was practicing Getting better.
Yeah, and he was searching. He was like Miles Davis. That he went from that cool jazz to jazz fusion, and part of what they said is, I think it was the Monterey Music
Jazz.
Festival.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was Monterey Jazz. Maybe no, it was at the Yeah, I think it was at the Monterey Jazz. They had invited Sly and the Family Stone, and that was the first time Miles saw up close the reaction that new music got the audience. Like the audience was in a frenzy by the electric guitars and all this. So Miles was like, I want in on that. And that's where you got Bitches Brew from, and Live Evil, and In a Silent Way, because Miles, who had already conquered music a couple of times over, it wasn't enough for him. He wanted to evolve and still bring new things, and that was Prince. That was Prince. Nobody else. That's why I always say those two are really aligned even more than Stevie and Prince, because Miles was seeking out ways to always improve, always evolve, always grow. In his music, there are like 5 phases of Miles Davis music, and you can pretty much say the same for Prince, although there's more for Prince because he had more musical instruments to kind of pull from and integrate in. And so that's why I'm saying Michael Jackson was a beast, but just don't compare him to Prince. Nobody compares to that guy. That's all.
Right. We're going to end on this note. Not going back and forth.
We're not going back and forth.
Not going back and forth with you. We'll just do another Michael Day.
Yeah, you can bring in the guest host for that.
Oh wow, what such hate!
I like him, but I don't have as much to say about Michael.
Well, you just don't. You haven't heard him yet.
No, look. Are there some hidden Michael Jackson albums that we don't know about? I mean, really?
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard anybody
talk
about
albums. No,
that's what I'm saying.
Performances, though.
Is there a vault? I haven't seen. I haven't heard.
I'll tell you, Michael Jackson.
Maybe Tito will open it up.
We'll see. Matter of fact, next week I go to see Janet. So
is she in town?
Yeah, she'll be in town.
Is she bringing the hubby?
She's not married.
Oh, she dropped the billionaire.
That's a long time.
I don't know. I can't keep up with these people.
Way into history. But yep.
Does she have new music out?
No, thank goodness. I mean, at some point, that's one thing with the Prince. It's like, bro, you can do one song. Okay, I'll give you one. After that, let's just do all the old stuff. I don't want it. I don't want that.
Nah, man.
I want you to do the old stuff. I want the things that I listen to every day.
Nah, one of the best things I've ever seen a Prince online is his. I think it's 2009 Montreux Jazz Festival, where he. It's hard to say there's a best Prince live video, but that's close. He is just breathless. That band is like a fine-tuned machine, and they're playing. They're just going all over the place in different tones and different speeds and just flowing. Always staying very cohesive, but it's different. It's at the Jazz Festival. I think he was inspired by being at Montreux and not at something of just his own. It is breathless what he does and what that group does. You might check it out on YouTube if you haven't seen it.
Bro, I was at the concert. Stop.
You were at Montreux in 2000?
No, he just came to New York right afterwards.
Oh,
with
yeah.
That band.
That band is bad. That might be my favorite with Blackwell and Renato Neto, and I love that band. I mean, I like the early bands too, and I even like Third Eye Girl. I mean, they're pretty good too,
but no, that was probably one of the tightest. And when we talk about it, that was like our favorite show. So, but look, there's so many.
Yeah,
so many. But you know what? To be honest with you, piano and a microphone was jaw dropping.
That was his last one, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just him by himself with the piano.
See, that's he could go from him by himself to a small group to a big orchestra and make it work seamlessly. There's just nobody else could do that.
No one else.
Nobody.
Still can't. And I got the recording actually on that last show. I can't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
God, damn. If I'd have just known that was going to be the last time.
Well, how could you have known that? Because he was playing right to the end. I mean,
Absolutely.
playing to the end.
It's still amazing. Every note.
I'm glad we did this. It was a good.
I'm glad you got it out.
I did get it out. I feel a bit tired.
Yes. I'm glad you got that out.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Well, 7 years. It's still hard to believe it's been that long.
I know.
But it is 7 years.
Well, you have a great time in Minneapolis.
Yes, sir. I'm not going to let you take any pictures in that piece. So.
No, you won't get any pictures.
You're probably like, all right, turn your phone in.
But I think you get a picture taken in the studio.
Oh, they'll take one for you?
Yeah, I think so.
That's good enough for me. I mean,
yeah, you'll get a picture.
I'm hoping you can buy stuff in the print store.
Oh yeah, you can probably. There's all kind of stuff. There's a print store there on site, and there's one inside the airport. And
in the airport, really?
Yeah. And the one in the airport had a shirt that I hadn't seen anywhere else. It was just like it's a Prince when he's playing basketball.
Really?
Yeah. And I got that at that store. So
well, I'm bringing my debit card.
Oh yeah, they're gonna
tax.
Trust you, they're gonna tax you.
It ain't gonna be very hard. They ain't gonna have to work very hard to get my money on this.
Oh, that's true. But yeah, there's plenty. Bring me something back.
Yeah, I'll bring you back some suggestions for when you go on your own.
Bring me back a T-shirt or something.
All right, folks. All right. So are you?
I'll be here.
Oh, all right.
I'll be here.
I'll be there. That's the weekend before. That's the Friday before I head to Minneapolis on that Saturday. So
all right,
folks. Friends. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will see you next week. And you know what time it is?
Deuces.
It's time. We out.